Today is Saturday, March 21st. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are continuing our journey through Chapter 5, How It Works. We'll read the first part of page 68 today. Out of 12 and 12, we are still on Step 10. We'll read page 90. And of course, read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this morning, my friends. Happy Saturday morning. I love Saturday mornings as a kid. Do you remember Saturday morning cartoons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Real Ghostbusters, and Transformers, Mega Man, all the cartoons from the late 80s and early 90s. Oh, good times, good times. Oh, and a big bowl of cereal, right? I may not have that this morning, but I do have a giant cup of coffee in my Grogu Baby Yoda mug. So I'll take that. And then after this, maybe I'll put a cartoon on. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, and actually just the last couple of days, we spent a lot of time talking about our inventory, right? We even got a demonstration of the inventory with 3 columns. One for the resentment, who we are resentful at. The second column is what caused the resentment. And then the third column was what it affected in us. We also talked about the sick man's prayer. And yesterday we left off talking about fear. So we're going to continue that by reading the first 2 paragraphs of page 68. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper. Even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis. The basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. We are in the world to play the role that He assigns. Just to the extent that we do as we think that He would have us and humbly rely on Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Yesterday, we talked about the types of inventory we can take. There's the spot check inventory taken at any time of the day. There is the one we take at the day's end. And then there are occasions when, alone or in the company of our sponsor or spiritual advisor, we make a careful review of our progress since the last time. Many AAs go in for annual or semi-annual house cleanings. So we are going to continue on page 90. Before we ask what a spot check inventory is, let's look at the kind of setting in which such an inventory can do its work. It is a spiritual axiom that every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. If somebody hurts us, and we're sore, we are in the wrong also. But are there no exceptions to this rule? What about justifiable anger? If somebody cheats us, aren't we entitled to be mad? Can we be properly angry with self-righteous folk? For us of AA, these are dangerous exceptions. We have found that justified anger ought to be left to those better qualified to handle it. Few people have been more victimized by resentments than we alcoholics. It mattered little whether our resentments were justified or not. A burst of anger could spoil a day, and a well-nursed grudge could make us miserably ineffective. Nor were we ever skillful in separating justified from unjustified anger. As we saw it, our wrath was always justified. Anger, that occasional luxury of more balanced people, could keep us on an emotional jag indefinitely. These emotional dry benders often led straight to the bottle. Other kinds of disturbances, jealousy, envy, self-pity, or hurt pride, did the same thing. A spot check inventory, taken in the midst of such disturbances, can be a very great help in quieting stormy emotions. Today's spot check finds its chief application to situations which arise in each day's march. The consideration of long-standing difficulties had better be postponed, when possible, the times deliberately set aside for that purpose. The quick inventory is aimed at our daily ups and downs, especially those where people or new events throw us off balance and tempt us to make mistakes. "24 hours a day, March 21st. AA thought for the day. In AA, we forget about the future. We know from experience that as time goes on, the future takes care of itself. Everything works out well as long as we stay sober. All we need to think about is today. When we get up in the morning and see the sun shining in the window, we thank God that He's given us another day to enjoy because we're sober. A day in which we have a chance to help somebody. Do I know that this day is all I have, and that with God's help, I can stay sober today? Meditation for the day. All is fundamentally well. That does not mean that all is well on the surface of things, but it does mean that God's in His heaven, and He has a purpose for the world, which will eventually work out when enough human beings are willing to follow His way. Wearing the world as a loose garment means not being upset by the surface wrongness of things, but feeling deeply secure in the fundamental goodness and purpose in the universe. Prayer for the day. I pray that God may be with me in my journey through the world. I pray that I may know that God is planning that journey. Daily Reflection, March 21st. Material and spiritual well-being. Fear of economic insecurity will leave us. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 84. Having fear reduced or eliminated and having economic circumstances improve are two different things. When I was new in AA, I had those two ideas confused. I thought fear would leave me only when I started making money. However, another line from the Big Book jumped off the page one day when I was chewing on my financial difficulties. For us, material well-being always followed spiritual progress. It never preceded. Page 127. I suddenly understood that this promise was a guarantee. I saw that it put priorities in the correct order. That spiritual progress would diminish that terrible fear of being destitute, just as it diminished many other fears. Today, I try to use the talents God gave me to benefit others. I've found that it is what others valued all along. I try to remember that I no longer work for myself. I only get the use of the wealth that God created. I have never owned it. My life's purpose is much clearer when I just work to help, not to possess. All right, my friends, that wraps up today's reading and some great stuff. First of all, the daily reflection, the more I think about that, I really don't own anything. It's powerful, right? It's like the job. I used to put so much of my identity in my job, right? And I took a lot of pride in it. But also, I guess deep down, I'm thinking, subconsciously that the place I work needs me. And when I leave, it's going to be so hard for them to replace me, right? Which is definitely prideful of me to think of that. But guess what happens? I've seen people that worked at certain areas, certain companies or institutions for years. Years, right? And then they leave. And sure, it's sad for a little bit, but guess what happens? Life goes on. They're replaced by somebody else and life goes on. It's the same thing for me, like on this earth. Now, I love what Fred Rogers says. I really do. It's that we often leave a piece of ourselves with every single person we meet. Like the legacy we leave to our family, like that lives on, and that's beautiful. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, at least for me, I'm just passing through. What am I going to do with today? Because tomorrow's not a guarantee. Am I going to waste today thinking about the future? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good to plan. That's responsible to plan. I feel like that's almost an expectation to plan, especially when you have a family. Because I definitely want to make sure that my wife's provided for and my children are provided for, and hopefully save up enough money to bless generations beyond that. But am I going to waste today worrying about the future? Or waste this day, March 21st, 2026, stressing about the things from the past that I cannot change? Or am I going to enjoy today? I believe it was in the 24 hours today, talking about just this day that I've been given. Enjoying the beautiful sunrise. As a matter of fact, yesterday on the way to school, it was absolutely beautiful, the sunrise was, and I pointed that out to my kids. And sometimes my daughter, when I get tunnel vision, will remind me, hey, Dad, look at those pink clouds. Look at that sunrise. And I look up and I look all around me and I go, wow. My higher power's majesty is right in front of me if I'm willing to look for it. And finally, I'll end with this. And I haven't done this as much lately, so I'd like to bring this back. Is talk about inventory, right? Well, at the end of the day, and I love the spot check inventory, by the way, where we can just see what it's affecting us real quick and make our amends right away. But I also like the end of the day when we reflect, and I call it the rose of the day. So my family and I, oftentimes when we would pray together in the evenings, we would try to thank God for one thing that happened today, one thing specific that happened on this particular day. And it was very easy to do. I used to focus on the one thing that went wrong, right? I'm trying my best these days to correct that by focusing in on the great things that happen throughout the day. So again, we call that the rose of the day. But with that, my friends, that's all we have time for today. I hope you have a great one. If you are sober, you're a miracle. And those that love you are very proud of you. And you're giving a great gift to everyone around you. And you have a unique superpower to help the next suffering alcoholic in a way that nobody else can. Your story is one of your greatest assets that you can share with somebody else. And if you are not sober, my friend, you are a miracle as well. You have great worth, and your story is not done yet. I pray that today you would get the help that you need, whatever that might look like for you, to make that first step toward change today, March 21st, 2026. Because again, your story is not done yet. And I have a feeling your story is awesome. So again, I pray that you get the help that you need. There are so many resources out there. The Everything AA app, the in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, rehab centers. There are so many resources now, and there are people dying to help you, because guess what? By helping you, it helps them as well. It's really awesome how iron can sharpen iron. But with that, my friends, if we were given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.